They never taught you this in school. Not because the information doesn't exist, because it was never meant for you. For over 3,000 years, Egypt's most powerful men walked into darkness every night, alone, carrying secrets that could get them killed. They were not kings. They were not warriors. They were priests. And what they did after midnight was buried with them. Until archaeologists found the documents, the rituals, the instructions, the warnings. This is what they found. Most people think Egyptian priests were holy men, spiritual guides. That is only half true. Egypt had no word for religion. To the ancient Egyptians, there was no separation between the sacred and the physical world. The priests were not worshipers, they were operators. Their job was technical, precise, dangerous. They maintained the gods, kept the universe in balance, and if they failed, Egypt would collapse. The priesthood was divided into ranks. The lowest, called wab priests, were purification workers. They cleaned, they carried, they prepared. Above them, the hem netcher, servants of the god. They performed the rituals. They entered the inner sanctum. They touched the sacred statue of the deity itself. And above them all, the high priest, the only man allowed to break the seal on the god's chamber, the only man who could look the god in the face, every single night. The rituals did not begin at midnight. They began hours earlier with purification. Priests were required to bathe in sacred pools called isharu multiple times per day. Cold water, ritual words spoken aloud with each immersion. They shaved every hair from their bodies, head, face, eyebrows, all of it. Body hair was considered impure. A single hair in the wrong place could corrupt the entire ritual. They wore only white linen, never wool, never leather, never animal skin. Animal products were forbidden inside the sacred space. They chewed natron, a naturally occurring salt, to cleanse their mouths before speaking sacred words. Because the words they were about to speak were not ordinary words. Archaeologists discovered ritual manuals written in hieratic script, step-by-step instructions, what to say, what to do, what to never do. The Egyptians believed mispronouncing a single word could awaken something dangerous. These were not prayers. They were commands. The inner sanctum was called the Per-Nefer, the House of Beauty, or in some translations, the House of the Perfect One. Ordinary people never saw this room, ever, not once in their entire lives, not even most priests. Inside, a sacred statue of the deity, made of gold, stone, or gilded wood. This statue was not decorative. To the Egyptians, it was alive. The god lived inside it, and it needed to be cared for every single day. The high priest approached the shrine. He broke the clay seal on the doors. He spoke a specific sequence of words. Archaeologists found these words in the ritual of Amenhotep I, a real surviving document. The priest announced himself to the god. He recited his titles, his lineage, his purity. He was essentially presenting his credentials, proving he was worthy to stand in the god's presence. Then the doors opened, and the priest looked at the face of the god. What happened next was kept secret for thousands of years. The statue was removed from the shrine, carefully, reverently, as if lifting a sleeping child. The priest undressed the statue, removed the clothing from the previous day, cleansed it with water and natron. Food was presented, a full meal, bread, beer, roasted meat, vegetables, fruit. The god needed to eat. Incense was burned. Archaeologists identified the specific blend used, called kaifi, a mixture of 16 ingredients including myrrh, honey, raisins, wine, and calamus root. The smoke was believed to carry prayers directly to the divine realm. The statue's eyes were painted with coal. This was not decoration. The Egyptians believed the eyes were the seat of divine power. Painting them reactivated the god sight. The god could now see the world and protect it. New clothing was applied. Specific colors for specific days: white for purity, green for renewal, red for power. The color carried meaning the way words carry meaning. Then, the priest backed out of the chamber, sweeping the floor behind him as he walked, erasing every footprint, every trace of human presence. The doors were sealed again. New clay, new stamp. The god was alone again until the next ritual. This happened 3 times every day: dawn, midday, midnight. The midnight ritual was the most secret, the most powerful, and the most dangerous. Here is what most documentaries don't tell you. The rituals were not just worship. They were maintenance. The Egyptians believed the sun god Ra traveled through the underworld every night. From sunset to sunrise, Ra fought through 12 hours of darkness, battling chaos, battling Apep, the serpent of destruction. Every night, Ra could die. And if Ra died, the sun would not rise. Egypt would end. The world would end. The midnight rituals were designed to help Ra survive. The chants the priests performed were not prayers of gratitude. They were weapons, protective spells recited aloud to weaken Apep, to bind the serpent, to ensure the sun would rise. Archaeologists discovered a real document called the Book of Apep, or the Book of Overthrowing Apep. It contains specific ritual instructions for destroying the serpent symbolically every night. Priests drew the image of Apep on papyrus. They spat on it, struck it with a flint knife, burned it, trampled the ashes. This was not symbolic to them. This was literal combat. They believed with complete certainty that performing this ritual was the reason the sun rose every morning. And for 3,000 years, the sun always rose. They were never wrong. The pressure was unimaginable. One mistake in the ritual sequence, and the entire ceremony was void. Surviving ritual manuals show corrections, margins filled with warnings. Do not omit this step. Speak these words exactly. If interrupted, begin again from the beginning. Priests who made errors performed elaborate acts of contrition, additional purifications, additional offerings. Some were removed from their positions entirely. The gods did not accept imperfection, and the high priest answered for every failure personally. His reputation, his position, his life, all tied to the rising of the sun. 3,000 years. That is how long this system ran without stopping. Every night, every dawn, every midday, in temples from Luxor to Alexandria to Abu Simbel. The temples are ruins now. The rituals stopped when Rome conquered Egypt, when the old gods were outlawed, when the last priest died, taking the final secrets with them. But the documents survived, buried in tombs, hidden in jars, preserved by desert sand, and archaeologists are still finding them, still translating them, still uncovering what happened behind those sealed doors. What the priests understood, that we are still trying to grasp, is that reality requires maintenance. That order must be actively defended against chaos, every single night. They never taught you this in school. Now you know why. If this changes how you see ancient Egypt, leave a comment below with one word that describes how this made you feel. Subscribe if you want the history they buried. The next video goes even deeper.